a long time ago, like a little over 2 years ago, almost exactly to the day, we recorded our second ever episode of this podcast.
And now, as we revisit every Star Wars movie, we're returning to Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
It's working! It's working!
Now, this is podcasting.
How Star Wars is it?
Well, hello there, Mike.
Hi, Josiah.
And good morning to our listeners and
Yes.
sweeties out there.
This is How Star Wars Is It? And it is a podcast, and it is the podcast.
That's right. This is...
It's the only podcast, and it's certainly the only podcast wherein the two co-hosts rate and review any topic on a scale of 1 to 10 of how Star Wars it is. And
That's right. We're
this
not
year,
afraid
at the
of
end of every
anything.
month, we're revisiting actual Star Wars movies.
That's right.
We're
now,
going in
we've-
reverse, like numerical order, not like of their actual title, but of how high of a Star Wars score we gave it. Because we felt pretty confident with our high scores, but our lower scores, we felt like maybe they deserved another look. So we're sort of recalibrating the scale through the year, starting with our highest, and then once we get to the sort of lower ones, we'll reevaluate. Did we get that right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you've heard of the hatchet order for watching Star Wars, right? This is the don't do it this way order because it might be the worst way to watch Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because it is, you are starting with, there's no quality consistency, and you are starting with the end of the first trilogy, and then you go right to the beginning of the of the prequels.
Yeah.
And you just jump around everywhere, and it doesn't make any sense, but it makes sense for our purposes. So we're talking about Phantom Menace this week.
Yeah. And in fact, one of the first things we did is we said, I'm Mike and I'm Josiah, or hi Josiah, hi Mike, whatever it was we said. My first note in my phone is I went back and listened to our episode on the Phantom Menace, which was our second ever episode recorded like in March of 2019.
In person.
And yeah, in person.
Can you believe?
And we, I was like, we were very new to this podcast, which like, duh, of course. And in fact,
Did we call
were
each other
so
like
new,
Mr. God?
Well, yeah. So we were so new that we had to record the intro to the show after we recorded the episode because we were like, it would probably make sense if we like teed up what the show was about. And then the other thing I wrote was, we say our full names. We're like, I'm Mike Gospel. And I was like, oh, weird that we didn't keep doing that, and weird that we did it in the first place.
Yeah, it's strange. It was a strange choice, but also strange that like it was a choice, and we should have stuck to it.
Yeah, in fact, while
have no
I'm hot
convictions.
on this, let me just read the other things I noticed of our second ever episode. We flipped a coin as to what the first topic was going to be, because the very first episode was Star Wars A New Hope, and we agreed that was going to be the first thing. But we flipped a coin for who got to choose what the topic was, and you won, and you chose Phantom Menace. But like, we couldn't even do that now because we have games, and we plan out what the episode is going to be. So, like, we didn't even have games back then, which leads me to another note.
We didn't have games?
We did, not for, like, the first 2 episodes. We did fucking 62 minutes on Phantom Menace without having a game.
That sounds like a nightmare.
I also said we are very hot. Like, we are, like, like
volume-wise or energy-wise?
just energy-wise. Like, we're doing a podcast!
We were so young and full of life.
Let's see, what else?
Full of vim and vigor.
Oh, we talked about how we, quote, came up with, now this is podcasting, which of course is itself a podcast that exists.
Right. Yes.
We also had such hot takes as, and if you think about it, Star Wars movies are kids' movies.
It's true.
And I like Star Wars as much as Star Wars is Star Wars. We had a bunch of shit that was like, oh my God, who's listening to this?
And are they saying real sentences that actually make sense?
Yeah, right. And then finally, I think in the first episode ever, we did mention chili, but this episode, the second one, the Phantom Menace one, was where we really solidified the chili metaphor.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty impressive to me that episode 2 we already had chili. Like that is that's pretty good for. I mean, I'm honestly proud of that because that's a good metaphor, and I'm glad that some things never change, including us saying sentences that don't make sense and talking about chili.
And of course, we have Star Wars is Chili available on our merch store as a T-shirt, a sticker, whatever you want.
Whatever you want. But I took a lot of notes for a Phantom Menace. I said it again.
Yeah.
I always, listeners, you might have heard that in the first time we talked about this. I, for some reason, always call this movie a Phantom Menace. I don't know why.
It does make more sense.
Yeah.
Like the Phantom Menace is like
sure.
It's
like if it's a
saying,
phantom,
like the idea I can't think of.
Yes,
Like-
exactly. If it's a phantom, then it's not definitive, so you
Yeah.
shouldn't use the
Yeah.
because it should be. Yeah, it should be. You're right. So I'm right.
Yeah, you're
I'll call
right
it a
in
Phantom
thinking
Menace.
that should be the title.
Yeah, it's Phantom Menace from now on. Everyone, get used to it. But I'm pretty sure I was thinking about this. I'm pretty sure I didn't watch it when we did it last time.
Oh no, we went like straight into recording. We're like, I remember it.
Yeah. Okay, so I hadn't watched this movie since like 2015.
Yeah.
When I watched one of my friends hadn't seen any Star Wars, and we watched them all for the first time for her, leading up to Force Awakens. You know, those halcyon days when Star Wars was coming back and it was new and fun and fresh.
Those
which it still is
Kieran
sometimes.
Halcyon days.
I don't know the first word that you said.
That is the name of the main character in I, Jedi by Michael Stackpole.
His last name is Halcyon.
Yeah.
That's silly. I need to go read I, Jedi again because I remember loving that book and we talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
But so I hadn't watched it in so long. And so I watched it literally today, and it was fine. It was fun. Like I enjoyed parts of it a lot.
Yeah.
Cause like, you know, everyone likes to, well, what's weird is now the pendulum has swung and everyone loves the prequels
Right.
and is like, they're good. And the thing is, guys, they're not good.
No.
You can like them.
They have a lot of value depending on like
Yes.
the glasses you're wearing.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can like them, but like simply from a movie making standpoint, they are
Right.
not good. They are not good. Well, at least the Phantom Menace is not good. The acting is stilted.
Yeah.
Even like the CGI does not hold up. It's very weird how
Right.
goopy everybody looks, and there's weird like technical stuff that's like, why'd they leave that shot in? Like they'll cut to people for a reaction that's just a little too long, and it's like because they were talking to a computer character, and so there's not someone for them to actually go off.
Right.
Or they'll like someone will say something and the camera will pan to them, and they'll wait to say their line until the camera has panned to them, and it's like, what's happening?
Yeah, there's a
And-
lot in this movie that doesn't mean anything for the movie. You know, that doesn't like forward the plot or like
Yes.
give you insight to like a character's internal life. Like there's just a lot of like, boy, oh boy, if you cut all the scenes that were quote unquote unnecessary, this movie would be half as long.
Well, and like, yeah, a lot of my notes were like, well, and also, is the one on Disney Plus the special edition version? Because I'm pretty sure I'd never seen it. I didn't know there was a special. I don't know if I knew there was a special edition version.
It is the like retouched version where Yoda is CG.
Yes, and there's extra scenes.
Oh, really?
I am 99% positive. I'll have to look it up. Because there was stuff I didn't remember, like Qui-Gon taking Anakin's blood.
Oh, that's
like,
definitely in the movie.
is that in the original?
Yeah.
Man, maybe I just didn't. Hold on, I gotta look it up because I felt crazy.
But based on like kind of what we're saying, my very first note was, okay, yeah, Jar Jar is annoying, but this movie is fun. It's a cartoon
Yeah.
where R2 and C-3PO meet.
Yes. Okay, that brings me to I don't know if I can't find if there's extra scenes, so I'm not going to worry about it. Someone tell me if there's extra scenes or not, because I felt like there were sometimes, and it felt like I was in another like Mandela effect where I was in a different universe. Anyway,
Which that's not real.
right? It's not real.
I like,
but it
I
is-
like actually get like a little aggravated when I see people going like, "Whoa, it's the Mandela effect," and it's like, no, human memory is bad.
I'll go off on a tiny tangent and just real quick because yes, and also it's funny too. and sad because the biggest instances of the Mandela effect, and we might have talked about this on the show
We did
already.
very recently.
Yeah. It's just racist.
Or maybe some
like,
alternate versions of us did. And yeah.
like it's just racism. Like people thinking Nelson Mandela died in
Right,
prisons because
right.
Americans don't care about world history. People not knowing how to pronounce or spell Berenstain Bears or Bernstein Bears is because
Right.
we're racist against Jewish people. And people
just that
thinking
it's a name that like you filled in the blanks yourself. Like
whatever you remembered.
that's
and then
the
also,
thing that I love the most is that particular example, Berenstain Bears. Like I don't remember it this way, but it's like you were fucking 5.
you were a baby. Yeah, you were a child.
You
And then
weren't
my
spelling Berenstain a whole lot back then.
My favorite is the one where people are like, I know that Sinbad was in a movie called Shazam where he played a genie.
Right.
And it's like, guys, listen, that one's hard because it makes more sense than reality, but also it is still racism because it's just another big black guy. It was Shaq in a movie called
Yeah,
Kazam.
like-
But it's like, yeah, the one that we think it is makes more sense.
Yeah.
Because it'd make more sense that a comedian did that and not a basketball player.
Well, but like just in general, high level, you can like the power of suggestion. I can tell you, remember this, and you'd be like, I don't, but yeah, now that you say it, I do. Like people's memory is
Yes.
fucked.
my favorite example of that is like there was a study where they would prime people by showing them, asking them questions about their trip to Disneyland, and they would show them pictures of like them with Bugs Bunny or like Bugs Bunny in the background. And they'd be like, "Oh, do you remember meeting Bugs?" And they were like, "Yes, Bugs was so funny. He put fingers behind my ears." And of course, Bugs is not at Disney World because he's not
right.
a Disney character. But you can make people remember things.
There's a
which is
like,
why I
one
didn't
of those,
remember.
like, mini doc series on Netflix. I can't remember which. Maybe Memory Explain, like the Vox Explain series. I can't remember, but they did one on memory, and they asked a bunch of people like, tell us about the day of 9/11, and this girl was like, my school was in Brooklyn, and so it looked over the river, and we could like see Manhattan, and we could see all the smoke like through the window, and like then when they like investigated, they were like, your classroom did not have a window facing Manhattan.
Yeah, of course. You're like, yeah, of course I remember that.
Right.
But all that to say, that's why I don't remember, I think, some of these scenes is because I have a bad memory and haven't seen the movie in 6
Yeah.
years.
It's become this like abstract thing of like
Yeah.
bad acting. The first prequel, it was hyped to all hell, and it was bad.
And what you said about it's a cartoon where R2 and C-3PO meet,
Yeah.
that brings me to one of my side projects while watching. I was trying to put myself in the mindset of Star Wars fan in 1999, like adult Star Wars fan,
Yeah.
right? Because I saw this movie in theaters as a child. But I'm like, adult Star Wars fan, like how I felt when I went to see the sequels, and I was like, what were the moments that people either were like, yes,
Right.
because it was like a reference or a shout out, or they were like, groan, I can't believe they're going back to that well,
Yeah.
you know? And so like right out the gate, I was like, there's a Master Yoda mention, because Obi-Wan's like, Master Yoda says I should be
Right.
wary of the future, and then Qui-Gon says he has a life debt to freaking, or that Jar Jar has a life debt to him, which I don't know if they ever say life debt in the sequels, or in the original trilogy, but everyone
Right.
at that point knew that there was the Wookiee life debt.
Yeah.
Then you've got mentioned Tatooine and the huts.
Sure.
Like I'm just like picturing myself. Then I'm like, were people like, oh, they said Tatooine,
Yeah,
you know, or
yeah.
like they said the huts because they knew it was going to be on Tatooine because like the previews and everything. But I'm like, what were the little things that in theaters, like when they said R2D2 and they're like, this droid saved us. R2D2.
Yeah, you know,
where
that's
everyone
the
just
thing.
like,
So much of this movie, it plays like they're reveals, and fucking none of them were because of how much marketing there was. Everybody
also,
knew
they're not
Darth Maul
reveals-
had a double-bladed lightsaber ahead of time, and then when they like play that scene, it's just so like,
it's like, okay, cool.
yeah, I know. And then like the like Keira Knightley, Natalie Portman reveal is like so
Yeah.
bizarre because it's like that thing where we know
We
what's
know
going
that
on, but
Natalie-
no one else does, and it happens
Right.
for the whole movie.
Yeah, we know Natalie Portman is the main character,
Right.
And we also we can tell that they're not the same person for most of the movie.
Yeah.
It's also a weird needle to thread that they didn't do very very well. Of yes, they are reveals in universe where it's like this is a surprising new thing,
Right.
But they are sort of treated as a movie in the movie,
Right,
with
like-
the gravity of
Like
something.
we found out it was Gwyneth Paltrow's head or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something important, right?
Yeah.
And then, but like in context of the narrative of the movie, it makes no sense as to why it's important.
Yes.
It's like, why are you putting, why are we watching you like commend this droid? Like, it doesn't matter what his name is. It's all this, it's very silly, but like, it's silly. It's a silly movie.
It's a very silly movie. I have multiple notes just about like Tatooine, mostly the pod race. I said the intro of the pod race is bananas. It takes like 3 minutes, and there's also a poop joke.
Yes.
And then the whole scene is like 5-10 minutes. Like, it's so long. It's exciting. But
the pod race takes, I am certain, 45 minutes. Because one of my notes was like, maybe one less lap?
Yeah.
One less lap would have been fine. Like, there was nothing that happened.
Don't make us literally follow the entire... Like, you can make little cuts. Like, maybe instead of it being 3 laps, maybe make it 5 laps so that we see a total of, like, 1. I don't know. I still had a lot of fun with it.
I had fun with it, but then I got... but intermittently. Like, I was like, there was a time where I was bored, and then I'd be like, oh, okay, now something fun again.
Yeah.
But I was just like, maybe one less. But that's also this entire movie. I'm like, maybe
that's true.
5 fewer seconds of that shot.
Of
maybe
every
like
shot.
Maybe one less lap. Maybe like one less when they're going in, when they're going through the planet's core underwater. When Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are with Jar Jar, they do the bigger fish eats a smaller fish that's attacking them 2 times.
Yes, they do.
In a row.
And they have the moment of there's always a bigger fish. Then they could have escaped and then gotten to the surface. But then another big fish eats another bigger fish. And
it was like, why did we need that twice? Totally. And if you're going to do it twice, then do it another time so at least it's funny.
Yeah.
Like,
Jesus Christ, these fish.
Yeah, like just you doing it twice makes it seem like you forgot to edit one of them out.
Right.
That's it's so
really
so
funny.
Strange.
The only other Tatooine note I have, by the way, is Sebulba says Slimo, and earlier in the movie, Anakin says Slimo.
Yeah, Anakin has bad pronunciation.
Or Sebulba does. Who knows?
Or Sebulba. Also, in a way that this is very Star Wars, pronunciations are all over the place throughout.
Of course.
They say, like, I think Coruscant and, like, Coruscant. People say that differently.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they say Sebulba's name. And it makes me wonder, like, at this point, George Lucas had a lot of money. But apparently he did not have the wherewithal to hire someone on set who is a continuity person to make sure that everyone is saying the same thing.
I don't think he cares,
He doesn't care. He doesn't care.
He says Gungans, and some people say Gungans, and other people say Gungans. Okay, so I after watching the movie, I went and re-listened to the beginning of what is now Blank Check with Griffin and David, the podcast.
Right.
They started out by doing like a deep analysis of this movie. And
fantastic.
I listened to just make sure I wasn't like stepping on shit they've already said, which of course we probably already have now. But one of the things they pointed out that I fucking love, just the premise of this movie is predicated on, a trade blockade specifically in and out of Naboo, which is ostensibly like a paradise planet.
Yeah.
And they were like, what goods does Naboo not have that they need so desperately? They have like chrome ships and like Tuscan.
Or is it the reverse where their entire economy depends on shipping out
it's
all of their...
It's possible, but either way, it's like very weird. I'm reading the High Republic book right now, like the first book of that.
I just got that from the library.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, in my library app.
A lot of it's about, I won't go into it, like I won't spoil it for you, but there's a lot to do with hyperspace travel in general. Okay. And like the more I think about it, I'm like, yeah, it is really weird that there are entire planets, or as they say in Star Wars, systems, meaning like a planet and its moons might all be inhabitable. Like we have a planet, we live on a planet, it's called Earth, and we get all of our resources from Earth. And we move them all around on Earth. We're doing a bad job of it. We're about to kill the planet, but
we don't need to outsource to Mars.
Yeah.
To get,
so like,
to get
how
things
did these
necessary
planets
for life.
survive before hyperspace was like pioneered?
That is an excellent question because because every planet in Star Wars is like one biome,
right?
And so like if you're missing,
except
I don't know.
Maybe they're not.
Maybe they're not. Maybe we only see the one. But that brings me the thing you were saying about Oh, I lost it now.
The goods, the trade blockade.
Yes, trade blockade and hyperspace. Okay, I tried to come at this movie with like a meta perspective, knowing that George Lucas hates like
the
fucking
government.
Republicans and the government and
Yes.
stuff. You know, I was like, what is this movie now? Like watching this as an adult, like let's figure it out. And it's so interesting because once again, it is trying to say something, but then kind of doesn't have a conclusion.
Yeah,
right?
it's like it
So-
has a point of view and something to say, but it doesn't know letters.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, it
like the idea
can't
that like
write
the
a complete
Jedi are
sentence.
sort of like strict about rules and sort of missing their own point, and so is the government. Like he's pointing attention to like these major power systems and how they're all kind of fucked. And
Yeah.
like that's kind of exciting. Even honestly, like I wrote this note. Qui-Gon explains midi-chlorians to Anakin, and it's weird and boring, but it's kind of cool. And like
Yeah.
the idea that even Qui-Gon, who does seem to sort of embody the spirit of the Force and the Jedi, as opposed to like the strict rules they all have, like
Right.
even he is like, well, the tools at my disposal are testing the blood levels. You know, like
Yeah.
they're so far gone as like a spiritual entity because like at some point someone realized this thing in cells was relevant. You
Yeah.
know, like I don't know. I've completely swung the other way on midi-chlorians. I think they're kind of cool and interesting.
I think it's like I like it as I like it in the prequels context. You know what I mean? Because I
Sure.
think, like you said, it does make sense as a thing the Jedi would rely on. But yeah, to go from here. Okay, a couple things. I didn't realize that Palpatine was from Naboo. That's crazy.
Right. He's the
like,
senator of Naboo.
Yeah, I just didn't realize that. But here's what's interesting, right? Because you have Palpatine, who is secretly evil. He's a politician who is playing both sides to try to get a war started, so that he can essentially grab more power and create endless wars, so he can have more power and more influence, right?
Yeah.
And so in this extended metaphor with George, here's what I think George is trying to say, because the Republic is the United States.
Yes.
I think that's pretty easy to
Right.
create
They
that
have a
distinction.
Senate.
They have a Senate.
And
the
it's
Jedi,
constantly in gridlock.
the Jedi are essentially like the you could read them in a couple different ways, but like they're essentially military might
I was
in
gonna
a
say
way.
they're
They
either
are
the church or the police.
yeah, they are special forces /
Yes.
church kind of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so in the very beginning, I was like, you know what? This opening crawl is actually more interesting than people, because it's kind of a meme of like, oh, trade disputes.
Right.
But what they're saying is that a politician secretly sent, if Ted Cruz secretly sent Navy SEALs to Iran, that would be bad. That would be headline news. That would be the opening crawl of a movie. And that's essentially what Palpatine does.
Yes.
When he's like
Right.
sending the Jedi to go like negotiate. It's like, no one said you could do that, dude.
Well, he didn't send the Jedi to negotiate. The
Right.
Chancellor did. Chancellor Valorum did. But Palpatine was in charge of the reason
playing-
they were sent. Yeah,
Right, and
like,
he's
you're
playing
right.
both-
It is like if Ted Cruz somehow anonymously like set up a like secession.
Yes,
Like-
which to go on, like you said, like the Senate, literally, like one of the lines that Palpatine says, he's like, they have no interest in the common good. There's endless squabbling. The bureaucrats are in charge now.
Right.
All of that is what people say about the U.S. Congress
Right.
and every politician all the time. Like it's not subtle. Like Lucas is being like, this is our government. They can't get anything done, even when there's actual emergencies happening. They don't care about the people. They only care about money. And like he even says, the bureaucrats control the chancellor, and guess who controls the bureaucrats? The Trade Federation. So he's saying like money controls the
follow the
politicians, and
money.
the
Yeah.
politicians control.
Exactly.
And so he has this really big.
He's like
idea.
anti-lobbyist, basically.
Yes,
Like
yes.
the
He's
Trade
anti-lobbyist.
Federation are like big oil, big tobacco.
this movie is almost anti-capitalist.
Yes.
It's like very close
really
to
close.
and he has these big ideas, and then there's just no conclusion, really. Not even at
Right.
the end of the prequel trilogy. Because I guess the conclusion is it's easy. Well, unless the conclusion is it's easy to slide into fascism with runaway capitalism, in which case, hats off George Lucas. The prequels are a lot better than we gave them credit for.
Remember in was it Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith where a bunch of people stormed the Capitol?
Oh wait, that was in
Oh, that
our
was here.
reality?
That's right. Yeah, never mind.
Or was it in a Mandela reality? No, it was real. Anyway, I was like keeping track of that throughout, being like, what is the point of this movie? And I was like, George was trying to say some stuff. Like he was trying to do some big things, but then also he was like, there's a cute kid and a funny guy who's got a rubber face. I feel so bad for Jake Lloyd. Like watching this again, I was like looking up stuff, and he's had such a like sad
He
life.
just like clearly had no guidance from an acting point of view. Like George Lucas was so preoccupied with telling this political story poorly and pioneering digital effects that like the time he had for coaching Jake Lloyd to act naturally, or really for that matter any fucking person in this movie, like
Natalie
but
Portman's
Jake Lloyd
not even
just
good in this.
especially doesn't look great because he's such a little kid that like
He's a kid.
it's like when you learn lines to be in a school play.
Yes,
like,
he's doing like old school sitcom little kid
Totally.
acting. Because like newer sitcoms, when they have little kids, it's like kids know how to act nowadays. But when you go back and watch like, I don't know, the Andy Griffith Show, and he's like, when it's Ron Howard and he's like, golly, Mr. Mullet. It's like, that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault because he's 10.
Not at all. Yeah, totally.
But yeah, like Natalie Portman's, who is a great actor, is very wooden in this. I mean, she was only 18 at the time, so like, concessions could be made.
Was
the
she
only people
even
that
that old?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
17 or 18. She was 18 in 99, so she's probably like 17 when they were filming.
Uh-huh.
But like, yeah, the only people that are like, good in this are kind of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, and even Obi-Wan doesn't have much to do in this except for like react and just be stuck in a ship.
Yeah. And
But,
Qui-Gon,
he's
what's his face? Liam Neeson is doing fine. Like he's like
he's
like a warm guy, but like
the only reason their performances are like not as wooden is I think because, especially for Liam Neeson, he's just a more experienced actor. He's like the only adult in the room.
Dude, you know who else is fucking great in this movie is Ian McDiarmid.
Yes, I was gonna say yes. Palpatine, he's
just
fantastic.
So, like he
is
seems like
playing-
he's having a great time.
Yes, he's having the most fun.
Yeah.
Whenever he's being like his normal self and
Yes.
not like the Emperor, he's just like, "Hello, I'm
In
jolly. I'm a
fact,
politician."
His normal self, I like found myself really drawn to his like senator self because like he did have that like the right point of view that it's like this is mired in gridlock and infighting and blah blah blah. But then every so often he would do something a little shady. But like in general, I found myself really liking Palpatine in this. And then I was like, man, crazy that there's this guy out there who's trying to like turn the galaxy against itself. And then I'm like, wait a second, that's
Well, and that's another hard thing about this big metaphor that like Lucas is doing is because he is saying he's like the money controls the government or like the Congress and the Congress controls the executive branch or whatever. But then he's also saying that like there's someone there's people in the Congress that are also causing the endless war on purpose. It's weird. It's like both things are bad. But then, I don't know.
You know what else is funny now that I'm thinking about it? We see the Senate, and there's like a fucking billion chairs, meaning there's that many planets represented. And as far as we know, the separatist trade blockade is only happening around Naboo, right?
Right.
Like,
So most of them probably
Naboo
were
is
like,
up in
who
arms about it.
cares?
But like it is one planet out of like thousands. And you can tell that, and maybe is Lucas saying this too? The reason that people are all getting invested in this and getting involved and like raising a stink and like evicting Chancellor Valorum as Chancellor is because it's like a rich white planet.
Yeah, I mean,
Like-
I think the argument could be made.
Yeah.
Because it's not the ET planet they're worried
No,
about.
right. They're there.
They're there. The little ETs are there, but they're not worried about it. They probably got some problems.
Yeah, right.
One of which is that they're missing a person.
Yeah.
A whole citizen of their.
Right. He's on Earth.
He's on Earth. He's here,
Yeah.
or I guess in the far future. And who's to say how the actual?
Right.
We could get in the mini worlds theory.
Well,
but I think we've
and
talked
like
enough
what
about that.
gravity does to time, like
Yeah, we could. Is it the Ender's Game version?
A long time ago could literally be happening right now, but it took so long for it to reach us.
Shit, dude, dude, that's gonna.
Did you see
that
Interstellar?
Yes.
They go down to that like wave planet, and like every second is like 45 minutes or however long, whatever the
And he
math
comes
is.
back and
Every
he's like,
second
"Oh,
is. Is
yeah.
it every second is a day?
I think it's
every
actually
second and a
every
half?
second is 525,600 minutes. I want to
Diapers?
say diapers.
Before we go to the break, one note I wrote is just like a full like run-on sentence, and it is thus:
Okay.
the final action sequence, bananas. Padme has a whooping gun. Anakin and Jar Jar both succeed by accident.
Yes.
Those laser doors in the lightsaber
why?
battle. The droids, amidst a firefight, once they've surrounded the heroes, like there's a handful of Gungans and the droids come out and they're basically like, hey, stop right there. As opposed to like, it's just
shooting
been
them.
nonstop firing. But then when it's like, it definitely looks like it's bad for the heroes, it's because they're surrounded and they're like, put down your guns. Let's see, what else is on this run-on sentence? And they're controlled by a big control ship, which is so funny. Like,
classic
there is
movie
one
move.
central off switch, and they're like, ostensibly they can walk around and like think. And then I also wrote, Darth Maul should not have died.
No,
He had so much time to just, stab Obi-Wan while Obi-Wan was jumping and flipping in the air.
or to like reach his very long lightsaber, or to throw his light.
Yeah.
To go off that, two things, maybe a couple more. This is to address. I think most of our fans are not the toxic Star Wars fans, if they are Star Wars fans at all. But like, there's
and if you are, get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out. But there's like a big contingent of Star Wars fans. Like I said, the pendulum's gone the other way, and people love the prequels now.
Yeah.
And one thing they love to do is they love to compare the prequel fight scenes to the sequels fight scenes, and be like, the sequels fight scenes are garbage. The prequels are the best fights, which is like. Not true, because some of the sequels fight, like the throne room scene in Last Jedi, is literally the best fight scene in all of Star Wars.
Yeah, and Yoda like bouncing all around fighting Count Dooku is like pretty silly.
That's what I was gonna say. They're not, the prequels fight scenes aren't better. They are flashier because they were doing something different stylistically. The sequels fight scenes are more realistic.
Heavy, yeah.
They are heavy. You can see the weight of things. And all that to say,
and the Phantom Menace fight, like lightsaber fight, is fucking dope.
Oh, it's rad. But also it's funny because you can, like, they're not trying to hit each other ever. They are doing a really fun, cool ballet where they're never hitting each other.
Yeah, you
and
see
they're
that
jumping
kick
over
at
each
one
other's
point
lightsabers.
That, like, it makes a like thud sound, but like the foot never makes contact with the face.
And it's great, and it looks amazing. But yeah, Darth Maul like throws a little tantrum and hits the ground with his lightsaber, and then waits for Obi-Wan to do a full flip in front of him.
Goes like,
and then lands and goes, cut me in half.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't notice this. This is another thing where I was like, did they change this? At the very beginning when Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are like, oh, time to get out of here.
and they like speed run?
Yeah. Was that in the original?
It was, I think. And so like,
because I don't remember
like,
that.
Games like Battlefront, like when you're a Jedi, you can run really fast. And I think that's probably where that came from. I mean, it came from, what is it? Empire Strikes Back, where someone, or maybe it's Return of the Jedi, where Luke like no, it's Empire Strikes Back, where Luke
Empire's
jumps
the first
out
time
of
we
the
see
carbonite chamber. Yeah,
we,
so like
we see a force jump.
we see that you can like move quick, but it is like hokey, dude.
It's strange.
The like Jedi shit in this movie. It's just like so funny. I can imagine being an adult fan in the late 80s and 90s, and then like finally there's a movie announced and you're like, oh my god, we're gonna get to see the Jedi Knights. And like the first glimpses you get is cool. They're like basically like baseball bat firing lasers back at the robots, shooting at them, but then it's just like a group of people sitting down in a circle.
Yep.
Like, it's so bizarre.
Some other things to go. Oh yeah, okay. So Jar Jar and Anakin winning by accident is fantastic, and is also very Star Wars, right? Because we talked about that with Return of the Jedi. Like Han saves Lando on accident. But to once again address the toxic Star Wars fans, they love to say that Rey is a Mary Sue, which is like, the term for a character who is like perfect and doesn't need to
inexplicably knows how to do everything.
Which is like what everyone in Star Wars is.
That's like the Star Wars secret sauce. Like every single fucking person in Star Wars knows how to basically put together a ship from scrap metal.
And so, and the funny thing is that they go out of their way in Force Awakens to be like, Rey is experienced with staff combat. Rey has practiced flying ships.
Had to fend for herself on like a rough and tumble world for 19 years.
Yes, she has like done flight simulators. She knows how to pilot a little bit. So like when she pilots the Falcon, it's like, oh sure, okay. Anakin, little 10-year-old Anakin, has never accidentally...
I'm a pilot myself,
Yeah, he accidentally starts a ship on autopilot and then wins a firefight by accidentally crashing into the ship and shooting the power reactor on the inside on accident.
Right.
All of that was on accident, and he's never flown a ship before. He's only flown a pod racer. And I guess you could say, well, he's the chosen one or whatever. But, like, if you're going to say Rey is a Mary Sue, you have to agree that all the main characters are, because that's what the Force is that you're able to do things that
or
you
even, like, higher than
do.
the Force. It's just, like, storytelling fate.
It's just movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, have they ever seen a movie?
Yeah, right.
Because you know who else does a lot of things that he shouldn't be able to do? Ethan Hunt.
Right.
In Mission Impossible.
Spider-Man.
Dom Toretto from Fast and the Furious. Any movie. Any movie, guys.
That all said, when I watched Phantom Menace recently, I will say I got a little tired of Jar Jar. But
I got a little tired of Jar Jar too. Yeah.
I thought it was fucking fun.
I would have had more fun if I had watched it in 2 sittings, because I think movies are too long these days for my old bones.
Yeah.
And but it was fun.
I did. And I think, honestly, part of it is that I am reading this High Republic story, which obviously has been written, like 20 years after this movie. But, like, that era that they're starting to, like, write books and comics in takes place 200 years before all this stuff. So it's
when
like
Yoda was young and
when
sexy.
the Republic was pretty much not corrupt, and when the Jedi had, like, they were more in touch with the Force as opposed to with the rules. And like it did make me go like, oh yeah, like, dude, the Chancellor Palpatine thing, if it wasn't him, it was gonna be someone else, because you guys fucking strayed from the path, my friends.
You strayed from the path,
and
guys.
like that made me like this movie more. The like weird shit that George Lucas tried to say and did a poor job doing. Like even like I said, even midi-chlorians, I was like, I'm kind of into this.
Yeah, I was kind of into it more than I have been in the past. I do think, like, from a technical filmmaking perspective, this is a bad movie.
Yes.
But from a perspective of, like, is it enjoyable? Sure.
Right.
Do I like it? Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Is
Do I think
Watto
it's nice?
great?
Yeah.
I mean,
is he racist?
He's bad.
Also,
There's a lot of racism, but like...
Oh, yeah, we haven't touched on the racism. There's a lot of racism in this movie, and it wasn't a recent thing that people started saying it was racist, because you can find articles from, like, 1999 and that are like, what the fuck is going on in Star Wars?
And I'm trying to, like, thread this needle here. That is what's in the movie. And, like, the movie is weird and bad, and I liked it because of that. And that said, that weird racist alien thing is part of why it's weird and bad, and sort of weirdly thus part of why I like the movie.
Also,
is that
it's also
not
part of,
okay thing to say?
I don't know. Well, it's also it's a weird thing to say. It's like Watto is the performance of Watto and the animation of Watto is well done. Is it also like a harmful caricature?
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, speaking of the performance of Watto, George Lucas, in like some bonus feature or whatever, some animator or CG person was talking about Watto, and that they brought up like, okay, well, he has such a rotund belly and all these little spindly wings. Like, how does he keep himself in the air? And George Lucas's response was like, because they were asking like, we're pioneering CGI, and like we are struggling with things like giving something weight, realistically. And they're like, how do we make this work? And he was like, I don't know, just pretend he has like helium in his belly. It's just like, oh no.
Just pretend. That's cute. Just imagine.
I don't know.
guys.
I freaking like this movie, weirdly.
That's
Ouch
so fun.
time.
Ouch. God, there's so many stupid. It's great. Jar Jar's great. Jar Jar is a clown / like drunken master, and there were times when I was like, if I was watching this, I was like, if I changed my perspective of like Jar Jar's character and was like, oh, he's actually a drunken master fighter who everything he does looks like he's a buffoon, but it's actually purposeful in order to confuse his opponents.
Right.
I was like, that makes it more palatable whenever he's being all silly.
Yeah.
But also it's fun. It's for kids.
It's
goofy.
too bad that he's like racist and stupid.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing redeemable about him, which is really unfortunate because like a clown who happens to like luck into doing well the whole time can be funny.
Yeah.
It's just like
Mr. Noodle from Elmo's World.
Sure, or like Mr. Magoo. Like he
Or
can't
Mr.
see
Magoo
and he ends
from
up
the real
narrowly
world?
getting hit by pianos and stuff.
Yeah, it's classic. I have a billion notes, but I'm not going to worry about it. So do we want to
Yeah, we probably
go
should
to the break real
go
quick?
to the break.
All right, let's do it. Wee!
Woohoo!
Wootini! There's a Wootini in this. And we're back. And we're two heads talking about a
I
pod
don't care what
race.
universe you're from. That's gotta hurt.
Blah blah blee blue. Slash blue blame blue blue. That I was
Also,
the
the
other one.
music, by the way, is great. It's
Oh,
the same
fantastic.
music,
Duel of the
but it
Fates?
also has Duel of the Fates.
Yeah, Duel of the
Okay,
Fates.
we're back. Our game this week, just like last month, we are going to and for the 40th anniversary of both Star Wars and then later for the 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back, a large book was released. It is a collection of 40 short stories called From a Certain Point of View, where background characters, or in some cases main characters who aren't featured terribly deeply in the movie, get little stories from their point of view. In the A New Hope one, there was a story from the point of view of a Jawa aboard the Sandcrawler. In the Empire Strikes Back book, there was a story from the point of view of the space worm that lives in the asteroid. So we're gonna take a step into the future to 2039.
Yeah.
Is the 40th anniversary.
So put this in a time capsule, bury it in your
Yeah.
backyard.
And we're going to make predictions of what the 40 From a Certain Point of View stories are going to be for the Phantom Menace book, if that were to be made. Now, I texted Josiah earlier today saying I kind of half-assed this because basically fucking
characters.
everything in this movie is background characters.
Yeah.
That's the thing about this movie. Who's the protagonist of this movie,
No,
Josiah?
There isn't one. That's one of the issues with the prequels in general is that they, well, especially with this one, but in general, because like once you get to 2 and 3, it's like, okay, we're doing Padme, Anakin, and Obi-Wan. But in this movie, it's like we're doing Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Padme, Anakin,
Yeah.
Jar Jar? What's
the
happening?
Protagonist, you could argue, is a number of different people, but I think it's Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I think the protagonist in this one is well,
Or is it Sheev Palpatine?
I think it might be New York City, because in this one, New York City is really kind of its own character. Actually, that would be Naboo, or maybe Coruscant.
Coruscant, yeah.
Coruscant's the New York
The
City.
whole planet is one big city.
It's like a third character. It's amazing.
Third character.
Yeah, the first two are Qui-Gon,
Jar Jar and Qui-Gon.
and Jar Jar, and then
Why
Coruscant.
is Jar Jar involved so much?
One of my notes was that I was like, why does Qui-Gon take him off the ship into
he's
Tatooine?
like, Obi-Wan, you stay on the ship. Jar Jar,
I'm
come
gonna
on.
take this useless pile of like rubber with
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Why did he bring him?
It's
He
really
shouldn't have
weird.
come. He literally tells him all the time, "Don't touch that. Don't touch that." He should
Yeah.
have left him on the ship and said, "Don't touch anything."
Yeah, right.
Why did he bring him? It does not
Really
make
silly.
sense.
and
There's a
then
lot
they
of-
were also like, yeah, and sure, we'll take this handmaiden, I guess.
Yeah, we'll take this handmaiden. Also, I like the idea that Qui-Gon the entire time is onto her about that she's actually the.
Was he?
I don't know if
That's
he was.
also unclear.
I don't know if he was, but I like the read that he is, because like whenever there's that reveal, he and Obi-Wan exchange a look, and like you could maybe interpret it as like,
like,
Qui-Gon being like, "I knew,"
yeah,
but it's like, not
He
clear.
says multiple times like Padme will say something like, "The Queen will not be pleased with this," and he'll say like, "Well, the Queen's not here." Like,
I think he's being passive aggressive in those moments.
Maybe he is. Maybe he's like, I know, but she doesn't know I know. So I'll keep pretending that I don't know.
I think that's the read, is him being like, well, if you're gonna play pretend, then I'm just gonna be a little piece of shit because you can't tell me what to do. Okay, to start out, I have one right off the bat.
Go for it.
Whenever Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn are flying in on their little ship into the Trade Federation, the pilot of that ship is a child. I don't know if you know, she is so young, or they, whatever.
Yeah.
Honestly, they seem very androgynous for the Star Wars universe, which is like spot on, great. But I was like, this person looks like they're 18 years old.
Yeah,
and
that
so
was very strange to me.
I think it's their first time flying. I think it's their first time captaining a ship, and I think we got to get a POV for them. Their first mission is transporting these Jedi, and then it tragically ends in their death.
Why wouldn't the Jedi have just flown their own ship?
Yeah, we know they have ships.
Weird.
Like, Obi-Wan has a cool ship that he flies all the time later.
Right.
Why didn't
the one with the big ring?
Yeah, it's cool. And he doesn't like flying, but he has one.
Those are like starfighters as opposed to like big transport ships. But regardless,
man, it really is interesting how, what's funny is like we give the sequel trilogy crap for not being consistent, and you give the original we can give the original trilogy crap for being like, oh, they had a lot of stuff they wanted to do in New Hope and then sort of shoehorn some stuff in later. But like, even in this one, when it was George Lucas at the helm being like, I'm gonna make 3 movies, he really was just winging it on a lot of stuff. Because I was just remembering how in episode 2 Obi-Wan has a thing about how he doesn't like piloting ships or whatever, doesn't like flying.
Yeah.
And that's never mentioned in this one, even though they're flying in ships multiple times.
Yeah.
Is it? I don't know how often it's mentioned in the other movies.
Like, maybe in the 10 years between Jake Lloyd and Hayden Christensen, Obi-Wan Kenobi developed an inner ear problem or something.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like his equilibrium got weird.
There was something in the Jedi Knight trials that gave him a fear of flying.
Yeah.
And that's just what happened. But that's my first POV.
That's funny. I had written down what about what happened right before the Jedi show up? What was there So that's not really a full story, but your idea is great. Let's see. I
have 2 that are kind of similar after yours.
We talked about what is this trade blockade? So something from the point of view of the Nemoidians taking these orders from this shady guy. What got them on Palpatine's side, or rather Darth Sidious's side? How did he get them to follow his rules?
And that makes me wonder too, because it's this idea of endless. It's like the 1984 idea of endless war, and they obviously have the droid army, and so it makes me wonder is their thought, oh, we'll have endless demand if this Darth Sidious guy can start a war? Maybe? I don't know. Okay, these 2 are kind of similar. So I want some POV from the other handmaidens that aren't Keira Knightley or Natalie
Definitely.
Portman.
That was on my list too. I wrote, obviously, handmaidens.
Yeah, it's just are they friends? Do they hang out after work? Is it a rotating thing where they all get to play the queen sometimes?
Well, okay, so just because I've been listening to Blank Check, they do a lot of looks on Wikipedia and stuff. It's just whatever her name is, Keira Knightley.
Yeah.
And I guess
which you would
it was
think
either her
they would...
or someone else who ran against Padme to be elected queen and lost the election and is now her take a bullet for the queen decoy.
That seems like a terrible
it's the
system.
Beginning, in Hamilton where they say
yeah, yeah.
It's a little crazy that the guy who comes in second gets to be the vice president.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
And also amazing. What a great political system. If you lose to me, you have to be my body double.
If you are the child girl who loses the election.
And we better look a lot alike.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, this is not going to work very well.
Very weird. Yeah, I think there could be multiple handmaiden stories.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A Handmaiden's Tale, if you will. A Handmaid's Tale. Is that what it's called? I've read that book. And
we talked about this, but at least one of the big fish will have a POV. But my other one in that realm is... I wanna know why the Gungans have a bongo. This ship that I guess they are air breathers because their underwater city is
this
air
brings
bubbles,
me to
but
yes.
I want to know all about how have we not gone back to Gunga City ever?
Well, I think
there's not a level of it in Battlefront. Like, I want to fucking, like, go there.
That I think there's a big reason. It's because everyone hated Jar Jar so much, and
I guess,
also
but
maybe
it's
the
such a
racisms.
cool idea.
It's a cool idea, but that leads me to another big question. Note I had is, why is their city underwater? They breathe air.
Right.
It is.
Right.
I understand they are like semi-aquatic, like maybe amphibious, but they breathe air.
Speaking of things that don't make sense, when they're like, Jar Jar, go get the Gungans to help us win this battle or whatever, and he goes down in the water and comes back up, and he's like, they're not there, but I know where they'll be, and then like we don't even hardly like cut, and it's like they're over there.
And it's also, it's like,
they're
why
not
did
there,
we
they're
need?
over here.
Why did? And that's another thing of like, why did we need the scene of him going? They're not there.
Yeah,
we could
like,
have just
pan the camera out a little wider. You would have seen.
We could have just gone right there and had Jar Jar been like, I checked and they weren't in the city, but they're at our sacred place, and then we're here. We're already here. We didn't need the little thing where you showed it. Strange.
Yeah.
Their city should be on the water, not underwater.
Like,
because
or like Jar Jar is such a buffoon. Maybe he doesn't know where they were, and he's like, they weren't there. I don't know where they are. And then maybe the Jedi could go down and investigate, and then they like find a fucking clue to go find them. I don't know. That's like extra shit that doesn't matter. But like,
but
it is
it's
just like
also
such a useless thing.
Yes, because so many of the things in this movie are just like a extra plot thing that doesn't mean anything or add anything. It's like yeah, oh, they're not there, where are they? They're over here. There was no problem to be solved.
No,
we didn't have to figure anything out. It's kind of the same thing with all the problems that happen in the pod race. It's like, oh, Sebulba pulled his thing, oh, his pod racer wouldn't start, but then I was like, oh, because Sebulba pulled the thing, but then no, later the thing that Sebulba pulled is what causes the problem, and I'm like, none of it ended up mattering.
No, right.
Why did you show us Sebulba doing anyway? Another one I want is the other 3 droids that weren't R2 that get blown off. And similar with the Handmaidens, I want there to be just this vibe in those stories of like, wow, something really big might be about to happen for me. Like this might be my big break. And then for the droids, it's that no, it's not. Unfortunately, R2's the star, and he lucks out. Also, I like the implication that R2 is a very talented astromech droid, because it's like they're like, oh, it's like we're at full shields again, and it's like, why didn't they make all the droids like that?
Yes. Well, and also, why would you send all the droids at the same time? Why wouldn't you send one, see if it got the job done, and then if it got picked off, you send the next one?
Yeah, and I was just like, if R2 is such a clever, good at his job droid, then shouldn't every model should be an R2 unit, and it should be specifically the D2 model, because apparently that programming is perfect and ingenuitive in ways that other droids aren't.
Yeah, right. Maybe the other ones, they didn't do the like sort of sassiness programming, which is you know, because R2 definitely has some sass to him, but maybe that's where his like cleverness comes in. Like it's like the sass factor is like, and it runs enough RAM that it's like not worth like putting in all your R2 droids. Right,
but someone actually did it. Okay, that's another POV I want, is the person who programmed R2 and said, let's just put a little extra sass in there.
Oh, well, I would love a droid programmer story in general. I want to know how Anakin, like what he put into C-3PO to make him such a prissy British guy. You know, like I want to know all about droid programming.
It's like we talked about.
In fact, there's some of that in this High Republic book. It's like about, again, it's about hyperspace and it's about navigation, and like I was just like, oh man, knowing just a little bit about how a computer works, I want to know like all the droid shit.
Yeah. It's like we talked about recently on a recent episode that Anakin copied and pasted from some Google search and was like, yeah, the sassy British protocol one, great, I'll use that one.
Right. I want a nervous droid.
I want one that can't speak the Sith language. Make sure that's in there.
That's illegal.
That's got to be in there. But another thing I remember at some point, I don't know if this is canon or not anymore, but like part of the reason why R2 is so good at what he does, like especially in the sequels and throughout the prequels, I guess, is that he's like never been memory wiped or whatever, right? Like he has the sum of all his experiences, and that makes me wonder. Like we know that C-3PO is born in this movie, but R2's like been around. And I'm like, what has he been doing? Like, what is his experience before? So that leads me to another POV that I just thought of right now, which is this is the prequel I want to see. R2, what was he doing? Was he always cool and good, or was this the first cool thing he ever did? I gotta know.
Always cool and good. I want. Let's see. Oh, so I said there's gonna be like 10 different pod racer stories.
Yeah.
We know that. A Sebulba story, I'd be interested in that. Maybe even a Watto story. A Darth Maul story could be cool because like he became such a cool character in the cartoons. I thought maybe a midi-chlorians thing would be interesting, but here's the only other one that I wrote like an actual sentence for. A story told from the Central Control ship, the big donut ship, during the ground battle in the fields of Naboo, and then like the last line is just like 404 page not found. Because like that. It gets exploded, and then all the droids are like,
I think
what?
that a Sebulba one would be fun. I would like to see the Tweedlex who are like giving him a massage, like what's their story? Are they there of their own volition? Because I'm a little worried about having to deal with Sebulba because he seems like a real creep.
He definitely like owns slaves in the same way that Watto does.
That leads me to another note I wrote down. There's no reason why they couldn't just take Shmi with them. Like,
it's so crazy.
It's
like so
he's like,
crazy.
Can you come? And Qui-Gon's like, well, even though slavery is outlawed in the Republic, I guess we have to respect Watto's rules. Take. Oh, wait.
It's that the story needed Anakin to be sad and scared.
Wait,
like,
I think I do remember.
There's so much shit like that it's
when
like
they're
the
around
winding
the dinner,
river of fate that they happen to be sitting in.
When they're around the dinner table, I think they talk about how like if they leave without Watto, like they get blown up or something. So never mind, I take it back. But still,
I mean, like he could like ignite his lightsaber and be like, "Listen, bitch."
Yes, or just like use the Force to like crackle the exploding thing inside her and render it useless. I don't know.
Like in Mission Impossible 3.
Exactly. Just do a defibrillator inside of a pan with some exposed wire. It's fine.
And then Kerry Russell's eyes go sideways.
Yeah, and it's sad, and she never comes back. And then Sawyer from Lost is there.
Yeah, right. That's Mission Impossible 4.
Oh, shut up.
He jumps off the building with that cool airbag.
That cool airbag backpack or whatever. I want two more. And
the last one, 3 class ring.
This last one is the most important. But first, the beard Gungan guy who gives Jar Jar a hard time at first, but then he's like sort of his right hand guy
Captain
once he's
Tarples.
a general. Yeah.
Jar Jar, use the boomer.
He's got a little beard, and he's like just trying to keep that's what I wonder about that too, because that's a real turn for him. Because in the beginning, he's like, "Hey, Jar Jar, how dare you come back here, you piece of shit." And then in the battle, he's like doing his utmost to try to help him and make sure he stays alive.
Right.
And I'm like, what happened? What happened there, guys? And that's why I think here's my headcanon there. He's his son. Jar Jar's his son. And so it's a beautiful relationship. And that's why.
Well, we have established before on this show, there is some short story out there called George R. Binks. And that's Jar Jar's father, who was like a military hero.
God, I forgot about that.
And Jar Jar's like his fuck up son.
Okay, last but definitely most important, the kids around the like.
Kitster Wald.
Yeah, Anakin, but not them. The ones that are there with the big group, and there's the girl with braces. And I want to know about space braces and how come they've got them, and how come this one girl had braces and no one else seems to have them, and is there a whole orthodontics business on Tatooine? Right. It seems strange that these children that all seem to be low income, that one of them can afford orthodontics, but maybe it's free on Tatooine. I don't know. Maybe it's different. Is it for all
I like
creatures?
that idea. There, in the Empire Strikes Back one, Wilrow Hood, the ice cream machine guy. So
yes.
Background for people listening, if you haven't heard of this or seen this, in Empire Strikes Back, when they're evacuating Cloud City, a guy runs by the camera just really quick, and he's holding what looks like a homemade ice cream machine, like an ice cream
And what
maker.
is a homemade ice cream machine?
Yeah, and that is
That's
what it
just
is.
Repainted or something.
And then because of that, in the sort of like pre-internet days where like memes were just like people who knew something and they told someone else.
Yeah.
He became this like weird like meta or like, just kind of like fringy like character that people love to talk about. So much so that he got a name. His name is Wilro Hood. He was always just called like the ice cream guy or Wilro Hood. Every year at Celebration, there's like the running of the Wilro Hoods, and it's like the evacuation of Bespin, and it's like all these people dressed up as him. They each have an ice cream machine, and they all run together. Anyway, the ice cream machine, as we come to find out in like episode 3 of The Mandalorian, is like a crate. It's like a little safe for valuables. It's what his like Beskar steel was in. And in the Empire Strikes Back story about him from a certain point of view, he I can't remember exactly what it's about, but it is about him evacuating, and he has this case, and it's very important that he has it. It's not ice cream. It's like it's got some kind of valuables in it. I can't remember. But early on in the story, he's like dreaming about like getting off of Bespin and retiring and having an ice cream. Like, they do still mention that he likes ice cream.
Yeah. They're like, the important thing for canon's sake is that ice
so
cream
I guess
be related.
The whole reason I bring up that story is, like, does this brace his girl, like, does it have nothing to do with, like, correcting her teeth?
Right.
But still, she someday wants to be a dentist or something.
Yeah. She grows up to invent orthodontry, but she just, those are actually, she's an alien, and that's what her teeth look like. She's an alien. She looks entirely human, except their teeth are weird.
Also, one of the stories in that book, Ian Bestman talks about, like, at one point someone's in a bathroom, and it calls out the toilet being, like, a weird shape because it has to work for, like, all sorts of different races, like, different species. And I was like, oh, my God, I had never thought of that. There's so many weird creatures. Like, building a universal toilet has got to be a fucking nightmare.
That's a great point. And is just... Now that's all I'm going to think about for the rest of the night. Let's see. I think that was my last POV, so I don't have any more. But
yeah, cool. I definitely don't either.
LucasArts,
like I said,
talk to it, call us. Well, maybe by 2039, we'll be well established enough that they will actually let us write something.
We'll obviously still be doing the podcast.
Oh, wait. How old will I be? Yeah, I should still be alive, right? What's 2039? Because I'm 80. I'm 84 right now. So what is that?
Yeah,
Wait,
right.
what
that
was
another thing we really.
I was gonna say early on in the podcast, our
Yeah.
canon was that we saw the
how
original
old we were.
Star Wars in theaters.
Yeah,
and we were old.
Well, let's see. I was born in 91, so 39 would be like just about 50.
48. Yeah, I'll be 47. All right. Yeah, we'll be alive.
We'll still be doing the podcast.
Yeah, we'll still be, and we will still be doing the podcast. Let me just go over some notes real quick. Anything else important or that I thought would be interesting? Was that a pod racing noise?
That's the Sebulba pod racer, which I think sounds incredible. The sound design is just like,
it's very good.
I mean, it's only ever going to be Star Wars.
Yeah.
For sound design.
Oh, it's got to be Star Wars, babe. I just called you babe. I don't know why. Hey, babe. It's got to be Star Wars, babe. Listen, babe. It's got to be Star Wars, babe.
Remember when they're talking to Darth Sidious, but he's a hologram, but the Neimoidians are walking, and it's like, well, how could they be talking to a hologram if they're walking? And then you see the hologram is being projected by like a spider robot that is walking. What the
it's very
fuck?
Cool.
I just really wanted this scene to be in motion.
This is important. Natalie Portman in this movie was my first crush. So that's fun. I remember I told one of my brother's friends at church that I thought she was hot, and he said I was too young to say that.
You said this either on our first Phantom Menace episode or sometime before on the show.
Yeah, I've said it before. I just want to say it again because it's important.
You are not allowed to say that someone is hot.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to say someone's hot.
Are you an angel?
Are you an angel? That's pretty much, I mean, that's everything important. Yeah, that's everything important. Weird accent stuff with Padme, weird changing of pronunciations. It's all very Star Wars.
Yeah,
what I'm trying to think is we gave this a 9 the first time out, and I'm trying to think if it's as I feel like this one also might get a 9, but it's like a high 9. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like a 9.3.
I still like the 9 for this, but like upon thinking more about it, it really is a confounding movie. Now,
Absolutely.
that doesn't make it not Star Wars, because basically every prequel and at least one or two of the sequels and possibly Return of the Jedi are like, huh, that's an odd movie.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, even the, Solo, it's like, okay.
Yeah,
but
it's
those
true.
movies all are movies, and this movie is like, it's not like every time he should have zigged, he zagged. It's like he wasn't doing zigzags at all. He was doing
No.
like curly cues. Like
Yeah. He was doing a book, but like a couple different books at the same time,
yeah.
but then in a movie.
Yeah, it
It's
is
very
a
weird.
really puzzling
This movie is so strange. What's interesting is I have a couple friends who are watching Star Wars for the first time right now.
Uh-huh.
And I have a friend who is watching everything in chronological canon chronological order. And so they're in the middle of, I know. And when I say everything, I mean everything. They're watching the TV
Like
shows
Clone
too.
Wars, yeah.
So they're in the middle of the Clone Wars TV show right now.
Which,
And-
if you were to watch season 1, episode 1, all the way through season 8 or 7 or whatever it is, that's not chronological.
Yeah, right.
That show jumps around.
right. They are watching. I think they're keeping Clone Wars watching it all in one sitting. And I have another friend who essentially hasn't seen anything. I think he saw the original trilogy when he was young, and then hasn't seen really anything.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't see the original saw maybe one of the original prequels. So he's been texting me like as he goes. And it's very funny to hear
Man,
their
I'm
reactions.
so jealous. I would love to fucking hear reactions.
I'll send you some of them because it is interesting. Because like it is, my friend who's watching them all in chronological, she has said, she's like, the Republic is bad, and like especially watching Clone Wars, she's like, the Republic is bad, right? Is this supposed to be a thing? And I was like, well, yes and no, because it kind of is. It kind of like I said, we talked about this episode. It feels like Lucas was trying to say something, but didn't really
like
stick
nail
the
it.
landing.
Yeah.
Of actually saying it,
Or,
because yes,
or stick the launch to the landing, or do the trick in the air.
right, and then maybe it necessarily wasn't a shuttle if we're going with that kind of launch, like he was trying, and back to the gymnastics one which you were doing, he was trying to do that, but he was
vault.
also, yes, he was doing water, he was in water polo outfit, and then but on the vault. And then
I'm picturing it's the vault, the little springboard. There's the little pommel horse thing, and then like the final landing. He's running next to that.
Yeah.
He still somehow though manages to trip on the springboard, bounce off the pommel horse, end up in the landing zone, and then like kind of crawls to his feet. And it's like, okay, the movie is over. It did start and it did end.
And he is carrying, and what's funny is he is carrying an ice cream machine the whole time too. He's running, and that's what makes him trip.
Yes, of course.
And he's thinking about ice cream.
Yeah, it is just like such a puzzling movie.
It's so puzzling.
And like I said, like watching it from that sort of more like politically aware point of view, I did sort of enjoy it, and I agree. Like I wrote down the note like what hang on, let me see if I can find it. So I said, so this is a bad time for government and the Jedi, but so is the original trilogy. So like what were Luke and his team fighting for? Did they not ever hear about the Republic? Because the Republic was fucked too. Like they don't want the evil empire anymore, but like what do they want?
This
Because
brings me
apparently tyranny is bad, religion is bad, and bureaucracy is bad.
yes. If you have enough capitalism and you have enough democracy and you have enough religion and you have enough fascism, it's going to be bad no matter what, apparently.
Like what I would fight for is like, okay, they don't want the empire, they want the opposite of the empire. They want autonomy for every planet then.
Right. Exactly.
Which
could have been cool in the sequels if they had done something like that, right? Where it was like, oh, no more Republic. The new Republic is like a loose confederation of planets that like help each other out if they need to, right? Like, but there's no one being like you
NAFTA.
have to do everything. Yeah, exactly.
Or like the UN. Like they're not like they're sort of like setting examples that people agree to follow or whatever, but they're not like in charge.
Well, so this leads me to another quick thing. It was a fan no, not really a fan theory that I thought of like a long time ago, where I was like, if you view the prequels as propaganda, it kind of changes the because they are so different in tone and like style that in a way I'm like, oh, is this actually
Oh, what happened?
Yes, are these propaganda films in universe that they made of like, oh, this is the downfall of the Republic.
Right.
You know, which it doesn't track all the way because why would you make Darth Vader a sympathetic figure in any way? You know, it doesn't entirely make sense. But I do think I lost my train of thought.
No, that makes sense, though. They were done in a different generation and sort of from a different point of view. So, like,
yes. Oh,
they
speaking
do
of,
have a different style and possibly, like, can be believed less in terms of the sort of unreliable narrator kind of theory.
And speaking of point of view, Qui-Gon says that in this movie, so it's another Star Wars thing. And we like to joke how Han is like, oh, the Jedi are fake. And it's like, it's been 10 years.
Right.
Like, what are you talking about? It's been 20 years or whatever. But like, if that's how it operates in this world, then maybe it has become such a thing of where people don't know how the Republic was, or they have forgotten so quickly, or because its influence wasn't there on the Outer Rim, they are sort of, you know, is the rebellion make America great again? Because they're like, we got to get back to the Republic, the good old days.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Actually, that's more the First Order, I think. The First Order is like, we got to get back to the good old days of the Empire.
Well, and also to the point of like Han going like, what are the Jedi or whatever, there were 10,000 of them at the time of the fall of the Republic.
Which the universe is really big.
And there's easily that many seats in the Senate.
Right. The galaxy is huge. That's true. That's a good point.
It'd be like if there was, like, in Washington, D.C., like, still at that, like, position of, like, the federal government or, like, the top level or whatever. It'd be like if there was, like, a fighting dojo there.
Yeah.
Of, like, these amazing fighters. But, like, I've never, you know, I've been to DC a couple times, but I'm not going there all the time, and I'm not like keeping tabs on like every last fighting dojo.
Right, and we don't know the names or exactly how it works of the Secret Service.
Right.
You know.
Right. Exactly.
So like you might not know everything about the Jedi. That kind of makes sense.
I don't know a single guy from SEAL Team 6.
Me neither, except for Chris Pratt. Was he in that movie? I don't know. I also don't know him personally, so I don't know. I think he was actually there. Oh, shit. Should we wrap up?
Yeah.
What are we going to give this?
I mean, I'm still, like, totally
I think I'm gonna
on
dip
board
it a
with
9.
a 9.
Yeah, me too. I think this stays a 9.
My unit of measure is going to be pum, and I'm going to give it 9 of those, and it's going to be Sebulba's pod racer zipping by going pum, 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 pum,
well, in that case, I'll do another sound effect, and mine will be 9. Because they do that too many times in this movie. So, yeah, do you want us on the internet? Because you can find us at How Star Wars Is It on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, where I don't post anymore because it was exhausting. But maybe I will again one day. Who knows?
Yeah, and you can email us if you have something you want to say. At agoodpodcast@gmail.com.
That's right.
Let's see what other things you gotta give us a 5-star review, baby.
You're required to by law.
Yeah, and tell your friends. We want to grow our audience and our reach, and that is how so many people have found the show. Is like some friend told them about it.
That's right. So check it out. Oh yeah, we have a survey. You heard the little ad blurb in this episode,
right.
But if you could do us a favor, if you're a listener, long time or first time, check out the show notes and go fill out that survey for us. That's to help us figure things out and expand our reach for the podcast.
Yeah.
Anything else personally going on?
I just this weekend finished shooting a video, but I have a lot of editing ahead of me, so it's possible that by now that's out, but I doubt it.
I actually finally have another audiobook, and I think actually by the time this comes out, it might be available, question mark. But it's called The Fallows, or no, it's called War in the Fallows, the High Council series, or something like that. I don't know. It'll be on my website. Go check it out.
But it's a series.
Well, it's book 1, so you know,
got that
fingers
foot in the door.
Fingers crossed. It's a series. We'll see. But I think that's everything, right?
It's gotta be.
It's gotta be. So, like, you know, it's about time for WBye. Yeah. So, like we always say, we love you.
And
may the 4th
be with you.
Bye bye.